The morning sun spilled gold across the high walls of the Okizi residence in Lekki Phase 1. Birds chirped lazily from the hibiscus bushes, while the rhythmic hum of a generator filled the air. Inside the mansion, 17-year-old Amara Okizi scrolled through her phone, her manicured nails tapping impatiently on the glass screen. She wore a cropped top with NO drama printed across it, irony lost on her. She was the kind of girl who believed that money was oxygen, and that poverty was a disease best avoided by silence and designer perfume. Her world was marble floors, air conditioning, and Sunday brunches at Radisson Blu. She had friends with imported accents and zero patience for anything that didn't sparkle. Outside, Ngozi, the housekeeper's daughter, balanced a bucket of soapy water and a mop as she moved quietly through the wide veranda. She was 16 then, tall, dark-skinned, with eyes that carried both kindness and a weariness beyond her age. Her mother, Mama Grace, had worked for the Okizi family for nearly 10 years, cleaning up after people who barely remembered her name. Ngozi attended a local public school down the road, wearing faded uniforms and slippers patched with thread. Every afternoon, she came home and helped her mother clean. Amara hated that. Why is she always here? Amara muttered one day as Ngozi wiped the living room table. Doesn't she have a home? Her best friend Titi giggled, tossing her braids. Maybe she wants to be like us. Amara smirked. She can't. Some people are born to clean. It's not her fault. Ngozi heard every word. She didn't flinch, but her eyes glistened for a second before she looked away. Mama Grace, who was mopping the corridor nearby, froze. The pain of helplessness was sharper than hunger. That night, as the house fell quiet, Ngozi sat outside the servants' quarters, reading an old biology textbook under the weak light of her mother's phone torch. Mama Grace came out, her back aching from the day's work. "Go sleep, my daughter," she whispered. "You've done enough for today." Ngozi smiled softly. "Just a few more pages, Mama. One day, I'll get us out of here." Her mother sighed. "God sees. Just keep your heart clean, no matter how they treat you." Ngozi nodded, the words sinking deep. She didn't know it then, but those same words would one day echo inside a glass-walled office overlooking the Lagos Lagoon. The next morning, Amara walked into the kitchen, tossing her phone onto the counter. "Mummy, why is that girl always using our tap water? Won't it finish?" Her mother, Mrs. Okizi, sighed. "Amara, please. Grace's daughter helps her. Leave them." "But she smells like detergent. I can't eat when she's around." "You don't have to talk like that," her father said from behind a newspaper. "Life has a way of humbling proud people." Amara rolled her eyes. "Whatever, Daddy. You always say that." She stormed out, slamming the door. Ngozi stood quietly near the staircase, clutching a broom. She felt invisible, and yet painfully seen. Weeks passed, and Amara's disdain grew louder. One hot afternoon, she came home from school early, still wearing her expensive uniform and designer sneakers. Ngozi was in the courtyard, hanging clothes to dry. Amara paused, smirking. "Ngozi, do you even have friends? Or you just wash people's underwear for fun?" Ngozi blinked slowly. "I have schoolmates." "Public school," Amara said with mock pity. "So sorry. I didn't even know people still go there." Ngozi smiled faintly. "Education is education, Amara. It's what you make of it." Amara's face hardened. "Did you just talk back to me?" Ngozi didn't respond. She simply turned and continued hanging the clothes, quiet strength in every movement. That night, Amara posted on her Instagram story. "Some people's children need to know their level." Titi commented with a laughing emoji. They found it funny. 2 years later, Ngozi graduated from her public school with top honors. Her name appeared in the local newspaper for scoring the highest result in her district. Mama Grace framed the clipping and kept it beside her bed. Amara, meanwhile, was busy failing her second attempt at university entrance exams. Her parents had started to worry, but she brushed it off, saying she'd study abroad instead. Life, however, had other plans. When Mama Grace suddenly fell ill, Ngozi took over her duties for a while. She worked silently in the background, washing dishes, serving meals, while Amara paraded around the house, making snide remarks. Then one evening, as Amara walked into the kitchen, she saw Ngozi sitting by her mother's side, helping her eat. The scene was simple, tender, but it struck something strange inside her. For the first time, Amara felt a flicker of discomfort that wasn't anger. It was shame. She didn't understand it, so she masked it with pride. "Don't sit on our chair," she said sharply. "That's not for you." Ngozi looked up slowly. Her voice was calm. "It's just a chair, Amara." Amara hissed and stormed out again, her chest tight. That night, thunder rolled across the sky. Mama Grace coughed weakly, whispering to Ngozi, "Promise me you'll keep studying." "I promise, Mama." "And don't hate them," she said faintly. "Don't let pain make you small." Ngozi nodded, tears soaking her uniform. By dawn, her mother was gone. The Okizis attended the burial, dressed in black. Amara stood awkwardly by the car, avoiding Ngozi's eyes. She didn't know what to say. When the service ended, Ngozi walked past her without a word, clutching a small brown envelope, her mother's death certificate and a world of uncertainty. Amara watched her go. A strange heaviness pressed on her chest. She didn't know it yet, but that was the moment karma began to turn its quiet wheels. 8 years later, Lagos had changed, but so had Amara. The city's skyline had grown sharper, glacier, more merciless. What once gleamed with promise now loomed with pressure. Every billboard screamed success stories, tech startups, female CEOs, young millionaires, all younger than her. At 25, Amara stood outside the revolving glass doors of Nova Group, one of the city's fastest-rising consulting firms. Her palms were damp, her black folder pressed tightly against her chest. Her once perfect manicure was chipped. The shine in her eyes had dulled, replaced by quiet exhaustion. Life hadn't gone as planned. Her father's business had crumbled after a bad investment. Her mother had moved to Abuja with a new husband. And Amara, the girl who once thought the world owed her comfort, was now hustling for survival. She had taken short-term jobs, front desk assistant, brand promoter, even social media manager for a small bakery. Nothing lasted. Each time, her pride got in the way, until pride no longer paid the rent. Now she was here, hoping to start over. The receptionist smiled politely. "Good morning, ma'am. Please sign in and take a seat. HR will call you soon." Amara nodded, her voice small. "Thank you." She sat, clutching her file. The office was a dream, glass walls, modern furniture, soft jazz playing in the background. The smell of coffee and ambition filled the air. Young people in tailored suits walked briskly, confidence in their stride. She watched them, envy rising like bile. For the first time in her life, she felt what Ngozi might have felt all those years ago, out of place. The door opened. A slim woman in a blue blazer stepped out. "Ms. Okizi, please come in." Amara stood, smoothed her skirt, and walked in. The room was bright, overlooking the lagoon. A single framed quote hung behind the desk. "Don't let who hurt you make you forget who you are." Then she froze. Behind the desk sat Ngozi Nwosu. Her breath caught. Gone was the quiet girl from the servants' quarters. The woman before her exuded grace and quiet authority, her natural hair woven neatly, her posture calm, her eyes steady but unreadable. The nameplate on the desk read, "Ngozi Nwosu, Human Resource Manager, Nova Group." For a second, neither spoke. The silence stretched, thick as glass. Ngozi was the first to break it. Her tone was professional, measured. "Please have a seat, Ms. Okizi." Amara's legs felt weak as she sat. Her throat was dry. Her mind spun backward, to the courtyard, to the insults, to the laughter. God. It was her. Ngozi opened the folder, flipping through Amara's resume. "You've worked in a few firms since university. Social media management, administrative roles. Tell me, why do you want to work at Nova?" Amara swallowed. I'm looking for stability. A place to grow." Ngozi nodded slowly. "I see. Stability. Growth." Her eyes lingered on the paper for a moment before she looked up again, directly at Amara. "Do you remember me?" The question pierced through the air like a quiet storm. Amara's lips trembled. "Yes," she whispered. "I do." Ngozi leaned back, hands clasped. "You used to live in Lekki, right? Big white house, with the marble floors. Amara's eyes burned. Yes. Ngozi's expression softened just slightly, but her voice stayed even. I was the housekeeper's daughter. The words landed with a thud in the quiet room. Amara nodded slowly, shame flooding her. I know. A silence followed, heavy and raw. The hum of the air conditioner filled the gap between them. Ngozi glanced back at the resume. You were always very smart in school, I remember. But you never liked me much. Amara wanted to sink into the floor. Ngozi. I was young. Stupid. Ngozi didn't answer immediately. Her gaze drifted toward the window, where the city shimmered under the sun. You know, she said quietly, I used to pray that one day I'd get a chance to show people like you that being poor didn't mean being less. Not to punish, but to prove something to myself. Her tone wasn't angry. It was calm, almost sad. That hurt more. Amara's voice broke. I'm sorry. Ngozi's eyes returned to her, gentle but firm. Sorry doesn't change the past. But it does mean you've grown. Tears welled up in Amara's eyes. I didn't understand. I thought having money made me better. I see now how small that thinking was. Ngozi nodded slowly. Life teaches everyone differently. For some, it's through success. For others, through loss. The room went quiet again. Then Ngozi closed the folder. You know, she said softly, after my mother died, your father gave me 50,000 Nigerian nairas. That was all. But that money paid my first university semester fee. I worked nights and studied days. I kept her promise, to never let pain make me small. Amara pressed a hand to her mouth. Ngozi. Ngozi stood, walking toward the window. When I got this position, I thought about her. About all the people who looked down on us. But I also thought about forgiveness. Because carrying bitterness doesn't build anything. She turned back, her eyes meeting Amara's. And now here you are, sitting in front of me. Amara broke down then. Quietly, at first, then in full tears. I don't deserve your kindness. You should hate me. Ngozi walked closer, placing a hand gently on the desk. If I hate you, then I become the same as what hurt me. And I promised myself I'd never let pride win, not even when I had the power to. For a long moment, Amara couldn't speak. She just nodded, tears sliding silently down her face. Ngozi returned to her seat and took a deep breath. The truth is, we don't have any opening at your level right now. But, she paused, I'll recommend you to our communications partner. They're hiring. It's not glamorous, but it's a start. Amara blinked in disbelief. You'd do that for me? Ngozi smiled faintly. Someone once told me to keep my heart clean, even when others make it hard. Amara let out a trembling laugh through her tears. That sounds like something your mother would have said. It is. The interview ended quietly. No handshake, just a long wordless moment between two women who had once lived on opposite sides of a wall. As Amara stepped out of the building, the warm afternoon breeze hit her face. The city felt different, quieter, almost forgiving. She looked back once more at the tall glass tower, and in that reflection, she saw two versions of herself, the proud girl she used to be, and the humbled woman walking away. She took a deep breath. For the first time in years, she didn't feel angry or ashamed. Just grateful that karma hadn't come to destroy her, but to teach her. Weeks later, Amara started her new job at a small PR agency. It wasn't luxurious, but she poured herself into it. She learned to greet the janitors, to thank the receptionist, to eat lunch with everyone else, not above them. One evening, she received a message from an unknown number. Ngozi, heard you started work. Keep going. Life doesn't owe us ease, only opportunities. What we do with them is up to us. Amara smiled, tears gathering again. She typed back. Amara, thank you for forgiving me. Minutes later, a reply came. Ngozi, forgiveness isn't a gift I gave you. It's what I gave myself. 3 years later. Lagos hadn't slowed down. If anything, it had become faster, louder, more ruthless. The skyline shimmered with glass and ambition, but Amara walked through it differently now. The girl who once cared about being seen had learned to value substance. At 28, she had grown into a woman who carried both quiet confidence and the weight of her past mistakes with grace. Her PR agency had started gaining attention, small clients at first, then bigger ones. She had built something honest, brick by brick, with humility as her new currency. One morning, as she sat in the modest conference room of her agency, her assistant knocked. "Ma, someone's here to see you." From Nova Group. Amara froze. "Send them in." The door opened, and in walked Ngozi Nwosu. For a heartbeat, neither spoke. Time seemed to pause between them, two women who had exchanged pain for understanding, now standing on equal ground. Amara rose to her feet. "Ngozi." Ngozi smiled warmly. "You've built something beautiful here." Amara gestured for her to sit, still processing the surreal moment. "I didn't expect to see you." "I came personally," Ngozi said. "We're looking to collaborate with a local PR firm for our new corporate social responsibility project, Grace Foundation. When I saw your agency's proposal, I didn't realize it was yours." Amara's eyes widened. "Grace Foundation?" "Yes." Ngozi's tone softened. "Named after my mother." A silence fell, the kind of silence filled with meaning. Amara swallowed hard. "She'd be proud of you." Ngozi smiled faintly. "I hope so." They sat across from each other, discussing the project. The foundation aimed to support young girls from low-income families, providing scholarships, mentorship, and career training. As Ngozi explained the vision, Amara felt tears gather in her eyes. "Ngozi, this is incredible. I wanted to build something that could have changed my story sooner," Ngozi said quietly. "So others won't have to wait for luck or pity." Amara nodded slowly. "And you want us to handle the PR?" Ngozi chuckled softly. "You're good at telling stories that heal. I think this one deserves that kind of voice." For the first time, Amara couldn't hide her emotion. She leaned forward. "Ngozi, I don't know how to thank you. You keep showing me the kind of woman I should have been all along." Ngozi smiled, eyes glistening. "Maybe this is the reason our paths crossed in the first place, not to hurt, but to rebuild." Weeks later, their teams began working together. Meetings, brainstorming sessions, site visits. It was as if the universe had woven their stories into one. Amara watched Ngozi lead, calm, focused, compassionate. There was no trace of bitterness, only a quiet fire born of purpose. During one visit to a public school in Yaba, they stood before a classroom of teenage girls in faded uniforms. Ngozi spoke first, her voice steady and warm. "When I was your age," she said, "I used to think I didn't belong. That because my mother cleaned floors, my dreams should stay small. But life is not about where you start, it's about what you choose to believe about yourself." The girls listened, wide-eyed. Then Ngozi turned to Amara. "And this," she said with a smile, "is my friend Amara. She helps people tell their stories, and she's here because she believes every story can change." Amara blinked back tears as she stepped forward. She looked around the room, at faces full of hope, innocence, and struggle, and saw herself years ago, but smaller, angrier, lost. She said quietly, "Once upon a time, I thought I was better than people like Ngozi. But life showed me the truth, that character matters more than class, and kindness lasts longer than beauty." The room was silent, the air thick with emotion. A few girls nodded. One in the back whispered, "God bless you, Auntie." Amara smiled. "God already has." Later that day, after the program, Amara and Ngozi sat outside under a jacaranda tree, the Lagos sunset bleeding orange across the horizon. Amara broke the silence. "Do you ever think about those old days?" Ngozi nodded slowly. "Sometimes. But not with pain anymore. Just gratitude." "For what?" Amara asked. "For the lessons," Ngozi said simply. "They built us." Amara looked down at her hands. "I used to wish I could go back and change everything I said, every cruel word. But maybe it all had to happen this way." Ngozi turned to her. "It did. Grace only makes sense when you've seen yourself without it." As dusk deepened, Amara took a slow breath. "Ngozi, can I tell you something strange?" Ngozi smiled. "You can tell me anything." "I had a dream last night. I was back in the old house, the one in Lekki. Mama Grace was there, mopping the floor. She looked at me and said, "It's clean now." Then she smiled and walked away. Ngozi's eyes softened, tears glimmering. Maybe she meant your heart. Amara exhaled shakily. Maybe. They sat in silence again, two women bound not by blood, but by history, forgiveness, and the quiet echoes of a love that had outlived pride. A few months later, the Grace Foundation launched officially at a packed hall in Victoria Island. The event drew journalists, dignitaries, and influencers. The story of the housekeeper's daughter turned HR executive, and her unlikely friend who once mocked her, became the centerpiece of every headline. From pride to purpose, two women rewrite the Lagos success story. Ngozi gave the keynote speech. Her words were simple but powerful. My mother used to say, "Clean hearts build cleaner worlds." Today we honor her, and everyone who taught us that forgiveness isn't weakness. It's the seed of change. When the applause erupted, Amara stood beside her, tears glistening but smiling proudly. She had helped tell this story, not as an apology, but as atonement. After the ceremony, as guests mingled and cameras flashed, Ngozi leaned close and whispered, "You know, Mama Grace would have liked you." Amara laughed softly, wiping a tear. "She already forgave me before I ever asked." Ngozi smiled. That's how mothers love. Later that night, Amara sat alone in her small apartment, scrolling through photos from the event. In one, she and Ngozi stood side by side, holding hands on stage. Two worlds, once divided, now united by grace. She looked at the picture for a long time before typing a short caption for her social media page. "Sometimes God doesn't punish your mistakes. He redeems them through the people you hurt." Hashtag Grace Foundation, hashtag Poetic Justice, hashtag New Beginnings. The post went viral overnight. Comments flooded in from Nigeria, South Africa, the US, people moved by the story of pride, pain, and redemption. Some wrote, "This healed me." Others said, "I used to be like Amara." And a few whispered, "I am Ngozi." A year later, the foundation had expanded across 3 states. Dozens of girls were in school, some preparing for university. Amara's agency grew alongside it, known for its empathy-driven storytelling. One Saturday morning, as Amara stood on the balcony of her office, coffee in hand, she spotted Ngozi arriving below with a box of files. She waved. Ngozi looked up and smiled, that same soft, calm smile from years ago. The same eyes that once saw through cruelty and still chose compassion. In that small, wordless moment, everything felt complete. Pride had fallen. Grace had risen. And what began as mockery had turned into a movement. Moral: in a world obsessed with class and power, kindness remains the truest wealth. Because one day, tables will turn, and when they do, may your heart be the cleanest thing in the room.